Hello, and welcome to UBTECH Education AI webinar series number 2, Representations in Reasoning. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to talk about a big idea, but first let me tell you a little bit about what we're going to be doing. So first I'm going to introduce you to UBTECH and who they are. And my name is Julie Tutton. I am an instructional design manager at UBTECH. We're going to cover an AI big idea concept, and then we're going to do some really fun activities that you can actually use in your classroom. You can do it virtually too. So first of all, who is UBTECH? UBTECH Robotics is the global leader in intelligent humanoid robots. Our interactive robots serve the public, they accelerate STEM, education for children, and they assist and entertain at home. So these are our kits. We have kits anywhere from beginner, intermediate to advanced. And then we have Yanchi in the upper right-hand corner. He's actually going to help me today with this webinar. Our kits are great for scaffolding all the way from kindergarten all the way up to high school. I love our advanced kits actually let students build robots from the scratch up. They have raw sensors, so the students really get to see inside the black box. And by the way, in case I forgot to mention, we do have some UBTECH specialists. If you have questions as we go through the webinar, go ahead and throw those questions into the chat, and they will try and answer all of your questions. So first of all, the big ideas is a framework for teaching AI in K through 12. This was developed by AI for K-12 initiative. Last week, I don't know if you logged in, but Rusty Nye, our specialist in implementation, covered perception. And today I will be covering representation in reasoning. So what is representation in reasoning as far as the AI big ideas? Agents maintain representations or models of the world, and they use them for reasoning. So I'm going to try and simplify that idea. Yanchi is going to actually help me. So Yanchi says, I see the word agent. Is that like someone who helps movie stars? No, Yanchi, that is not the kind of agent that we are talking about. However, agents it's more called agentive technology, and it's technology that works without a human being's assistance. So something like a Roomba is a good example of agentive technology. Something like a self-driving car and autopilot. So those are what agentive technologies are. So agents maintain representations or models. So Yanchi says, wow, just like an agent might be needed for a movie star, a famous model may also need an agent. Well, no, that's not the kind of model, again, that we're talking about, Yanchi, but it is a good way to remember that agents do need models or representations of the world for them to actually come up with some type of intelligent answer. So let's take a look at a model. So we like to use models are basically visual representations of knowledge so that the AI can make a choice. And Yanchi, what would be a good example of something like for a self-driving car? And Yanchi says a map of the city, which is actually a very good visual representation that we're talking about. So a lot of models use decision trees to explain them. So decision trees are used quite often in AI. And so just kind of looking at it from the ground up, you might ask a question, and then depending on that question and the answers to those questions, you might have more questions. Whether it was a yes or no, it might go on to a different, more extensive question. And then it has classifiers or labels, and then it comes up with an answer. So before we get too detailed on that, we're going to stop and do something interactive. We are going to have the audience go ahead, and someone needs to volunteer. We're going to actually play a game that uses something similar to what you would think of as a decision tree. So I'm going to go to, I don't know if any of you have heard of the Akinator. Feel free to write in the chat if you've used it. It's a great game to use with students. They find it really fun. And so what we need is a volunteer to go ahead and think of an object, an animal, or a character, but do not tell us what that is. So keep that in your mind, but you're going to answer a bunch of questions. So let me just really quickly find out who I'm going to unmute. And let's see. Oops, sorry. Let me unmute one of our volunteers. I have, do I have a volunteer? Okay, so I am going to use Christina. You are going to be my volunteer, and I'm going to unmute you.
All right.
Okay, so all you have to do is think of a person, a character. It could be an object, it could be an animal, anything that you want, and then you're just going to answer those questions. So go ahead and think of, is it a character,
Okay.
an object, or an animal?
It's an object.
Okay. And does it have a relationship with sexuality?
No.
Okay. Does it work with electricity?
Yes.
Can we play with it?
Probably not.
Okay. And does it have a screen?
No.
Is it heavy?
It can be. So let's go don't know.
Don't know. Okay. Is it connected to a wire?
Yes.
Okay. Does it have a relationship with music?
No.
Mm-hmm. Is it bright?
Yes.
Does it have a relationship with light?
Yes.
Okay. Does it have a liquid content?
No.
Does it have a relation with fashion industry?
No.
And is it standing?
Well, I guess so. Yes.
Sometimes the Akinator usually guesses it within about 25 questions. So can it be used as a decoration?
Yes.
Okay. Is it an office equipment?
Sure. It could be. Yeah.
Should I say probably?
Sure.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Was it created by 343 Industries?
I have no idea.
I've never seen a question like that before. Does it bring in information?
No.
Okay. Is it a lamp?
It is.
Yay! Okay. So that's a great tool to use in your classroom with students to see how AI sort of works. And back to the presentation. So the Akinator, someone's putting a link in there if you want to use that as a resource for teaching students about AI. So going back to the models and representation and reasoning, before we put in questions, items have to have a classification system. So I'd like Yanchi to help me classify a blue jay. So Yanchi says it's blue, it has wings, it flies, it eats worms, and it has feathers. Those are really good classifications. So we're going to see what that looks like in a decision tree. So this is how a decision tree might look and how AI can use this to make a reasonable determination thanks to Yanchi and his wonderful classifiers. So again, we're going to start at the bottom. So we're trying to figure out what the animal is. So what is the animal? And then as we did in the Akinator, you're going to answer yes or no to certain questions. Does it have fur? No, it does not. Does it have 4 legs? No, it does not. Is it tall? Nope. Does it have feathers? Yes, it does. Does it fly? Yes. Does it eat worms? Yes. Does it have a beak? Yes, it does. Does it chirp? Yes. Blue? Yes. Is it a blue jay? And yes, it is. Now, what if we said no to blue, but yes to all of the other questions, such as it chirps, it has a beak, it eats worms? Is it red? It's a red cardinal. So it could go off into different nodes, but notice that for fur, 4 legs, and tall, it stopped on those branches because it was a no. So that's how a decision tree helps AI to make decisions that are reasonable. Here's another really good example. You want to get a job, but you want your job to be more than $50,000 a year. You want your commute to be less than an hour, and you want your company to offer free coffee. So this is what a decision tree would look like in that instance. Each branch node represents a choice between a number of alternatives, and each leaf node represents a decision. So once again, at the very first one, salary is at least 50,000. If the answer is no, it stops right there and it says, nope, we're not going to go there. But if you say yes to that, then it's going to go on to some more questions and decisions. Is the commute more than 1 hour? Yes. Then no, you stop right there and it declines the offer. And it continues on. So that is how a little bit more complex of a decision tree works. So we're going to try one more project, and this I'm actually going to do, but please feel free to go on your computer and go to Quick Draw. This was made by Google, and it started as a really fun project, and it just took off because everybody loves playing it. Now, I will give you a little bit of a heads up that I'm a horrible drawer, especially with a mouse trackpad, so I'll do my best, but we're going to draw a power outlet, and Google Draw is going to try and figure out what that is. So let's...
I see knee, or umbrella, or bread, or square, or pillow. I see door, or hospital. Oh, I know, it's power outlet.
Oh my, I can't believe I got that. Okay, now I have to draw a cannon.
I see line, or bench, or dumbbell, or megaphone, or sleeping bag. I see trumpet. I see trombone, or shoe, or yoga, or saw. I see flashlight.
I am not going to get this one.
Sorry, I couldn't guess it. I see shoe, or potato, or paper clip, or ocean. Oh, I know, it's nail.
Okay, at least I got that one. Sleeping bag.
I see line, or nail, or string bean, or diving board. I see table, or pillow, or bench.
Close.
I'm stumped.
I've never heard it say I'm stumped.
I see postcard, or banner, or pool. I see map. I see hot tub. Sorry, I couldn't guess it.
Okay, one more.
I see potato, or nose, or circle, or mouse, or necklace.
It's supposed to be flames.
I see goatee, or arm, or fork, or toe, or hand. Oh, I know, it's dragon.
I don't know how I got a dragon from that, but now we're going to draw a shovel.
I see canoe, or spoon, or hula hoop, or nail. I see bottle cap. Oh, I know, it's shovel.
So notice that a lot of the things it guesses before you're even close to, finishing drawing it, and that's because it has such a large database from people drawing from it over and over again. So another really fun, quick tool for your students to use. So now I'm going to show you something in UCode with AI called image classifiers. So UBTECH has its own programming language. And if I go here to UCode, I'm going to show you what I did, but basically I'm going to stick with the blue jay picture because our theme is we're identifying a blue jay. So the first thing that I would do is I would go over here to variables, and I would open up that drawer, and I would make a variable, which I've already done. I've made a variable called confidence, and I've also made a variable called prediction. And the reason that I want the word prediction is because it is predicting the image, it's what that image is. And I also want to know at what confidence level is it predicting it. And so the first thing that I want to do is once I've created these two variables, I want to set the original setting to 0. So it starts at a 0 confidence level, and it has nothing to predict. And then what I want to do is take my AI blocks here, which is the image classifier prediction and the image classifier confidence of prediction. And I'm going to slip those into, you just pop them right here into these guys. And so now it's actually, once I click on the green flag, which is my, it tells it to start the event, then it's going to look at the image. It's going to go out to a program called ImageNet, and it's going to classify that bird with a confidence level. So let's go ahead and click on the green flag and see what it comes up with. Okay, so it predicted that it was a jay. It didn't say blue jay, but jay, so that's correct. And the confidence level is at almost 97%, which is actually one of the highest I've ever seen, because ImageNet has 15 million images, which sounds like a lot, but the more images you have, the better the prediction is going to be. Another great tool then that you can use with students in teaching them AI is in UCode. One more thing I want to talk about with UCode that's really nice is that it starts with block coding, but then you can also do, because we do use Arduino boards in our kits, it uses Arduino based on C++, and you can see both side by side. So it's a great scaffolding tool to go from block programming to line coding. This is the image classifiers that it used. And if you go to this website that I put over here on the left side, it shows you how the categories and then the subsets of categories. And obviously, like for animal, it has a much larger subset. So the prediction is going to be much greater, or the confidence level in predictions. And so you can also have students play with that, looking at this chart, and teach them about predictions in AI and confidence levels. So going back to, again, the decision tree, this is a little bit more of a complex decision tree. And I really like this because it goes in all different branches. So it's the same thing, same concept of what is the animal. So does the animal have skeleton inside the body? Your animal is an insect if it says no. But then if it says yes, it goes on to many more decisions. And you can also see that sometimes the decisions are not always just one answer. It might be different answers with different confidence levels. And it ends up, after going through all of these decisions, that your animal is a fish. This is also a great tool to use in your classroom, unplugged activity where students can write out a decision tree. You can even integrate that into any subject matter that you'd like. So you can even do something with history or genes and mutations and have students write a decision tree for something like that, where then it would be based on, like, what would an AI system do for that? So it's a great way to integrate any subject area. Okay. So 2 more things I want to show you that are fun to play with students and use AI is the Tic Tac Toe Game. There's a Tic Tac Toe Game that you can download as an app, and it'll beat you almost every time. And just so that you can take a look at what that might look like with the decision tree, on the left side, we have the Tic Tac Toe Game. And let's say that this is the play right now that it's at. If you look to the right of the screen, these are all the decision tree possibilities that it could go into. So obviously, if the first or the second choice is to put an X in the middle, it stops and that's it. That's the end of the game. But because somebody won. But if you go to 3, then it continues on to other decision trees based on what that tic-tac-toe game looks like at that time. And here is a really fun one. This is my favorite. So Go is a game that's been around forever. And if you have ever heard of AlphaGo, AlphaGo was a computer system created by Google's DeepMind, and it beat the world champion. He was a world champion for, I believe, 7 or 8 years, and AlphaGo beat him 4 out of 5 games, and it was amazing. I think everybody in the Go community was astounded. And the reason that it was so astounding is, I'm going to explain in this video, but when you look at this board game and how many possible moves there are, and then you look at a tic-tac-toe game and how many possible moves there are, there's a huge amount of potential, way more in the Go game than in tic-tac-go. So it was a huge feat for an AI system to actually beat Go. And here's a short little clip on that.
Everything we've ever tried in AI just falls over when you try the game of Go. The number of possible configurations of the board is more than the number of atoms in the universe. AlphaGo found a way to learn how to play Go.
So far, AlphaGo has beaten every challenge we've given it, but we won't know its true strength until we play somebody who is at the top of the world, like Lisa Dong.
So if you have an opportunity, there is a 1.5 hour documentary on how AlphaGo came about, how it beat the world champion. Very interesting movie. So just to summarize everything that we just covered, it's a lot of information, but there are some fun tools there that you can use in your classroom. And just to summarize, an agent in AI is AI that works without a human, such as a self-driving car or a Roomba. It learns to make reasonable decisions based on the classifiers or models, such as decision trees, and then it uses the classification system or a model representation to give a reasonable answer. And here I have on the very last slide all of the resources that I went over that you can use in your classroom. And if you have any questions, please feel free to, again, you can ask them now. You can email education@ubtrobot.com. We can answer those questions for you if you think of a question later on. And thank you so much for joining our webinar today. And look back at the UBTECH Education resources page, and you'll find the previous webinars and future webinars. Thank you so much.